I realized that last year that I was in public school that I was truly wrestling with the Lord. And He was asking me to do something that I didn't want to do. We purchased the school, and yet, there was no activity, nothing moved, anything like that. So I kind of dropped it, if you will, on a YouTube video. I'm real big on church, capital C, just because I feel like we are the church. It's not, the Methodist or the Christian church. It's all of us. And
if you're curious about what is trending in Christian education, you've come to the right place. Hi, I'm Delina Wallace, homeschool mom, microschool leader, and education missionary. And this is Wise and Otherwise, where we are sharing real stories from the front lines of a growing movement in Christian education. Stories of pastors, parents, and everyday believers stepping up in new ways to shape the next generation. From microschools to school boards, we'll explore how the church can lead in education again, creatively, affordably, and in true partnership with families. If you've ever wondered what role you can play, I hope these conversations help you find your next step. It is wise for the church to get involved in leading education. Otherwise, who will? Come on, Christians, let's lead the way and redeem education for the glory of God. Hello, and welcome to another show of Wise and Otherwise. I'm your host, Delina Wallace, and today I have with me Trudy Wischropp from Armor Academy. Trudy, thanks for being with us.
absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So Armor Academy is a very special, very small little school in a very small town of Kansas. And Trudy has a really unique story. I can't wait to tell you a little bit about this major project that she has just taken on with her school and the excitement that's going there with that. And just to let you know a little bit about Trudy's story. So please tell us a little bit about your background and specifically your background in education.
Okay. Well, I have been a public school teacher for 24 years, mostly in elementary, all the way fifth grade to fourth grade to second grade. There was a time that I was also a Title I director. And so I've always been in the lower level of the educational spectrum. But I've always known that I wanted to be a teacher from third grade on. I just knew that was what I was called to do. I did have a little bit of a stress out moment in my early 20s. And I opened up to my mom and I was like, I know I'm supposed to teach, but I don't feel like I'm working for the Lord. And she said, absolutely. And as we know, public school teachers and any teacher, we are showing God's love to those kiddos. And that's definitely part of the mission. So I've just had the opportunity then to do that a little bit more in what's happened. So
Yeah, that's great. So when you say you knew you wanted to be a teacher when you were in third grade, were you like setting up your dolls or your friends or your siblings and making them be students and you were playing teacher? And
oh, yeah. Yeah. Actually, nieces and nephews, they had to put up with it. And my dad even painted a chalkboard on the back of my dresser so I could turn that around and
Oh,
use that. My nieces and nephews that really, like, for a while, but then wanted nothing to do with it.
they were like, we're done with school. You want to play school?
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's great. And so you were pretty much on this one track and you just really felt called to that. And um okay, so you're doing something totally different. When you decided to leave public school, what did that look like? Well, what were your reasons for making this big change?
Well, the first inclination kind of came during COVID when we were sent home. And I was just kind of looking around our property and I'm like, I can do this here. And so the Lord kind of put a longing in my heart for a one-room schoolhouse. And I had the image of the little red schoolhouse with the bell, in a certain spot where it was surrounded by prairie. And unbeknownst to me, that was something that he wanted me to move forward with, but not necessarily quite quite like that. So going back after COVID, I volunteered to teach our K through 4 group online, the ones that requested to teach online or to go to school online. And it was so hard. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in education. I had kindergarten through fourth grade, and we had breakout rooms. We had all the things, that made it what it was, but it was just really hard. For those that didn't have any kind of connection, I would work into the weekend, Saturdays and Sundays, putting packets together for them to pick up, and it kind of depleted my dream. I'm like, "If I can't do this online, I can't do this in real life." And so I just kinda dashed it for a while. We went on and finished the year, and the next year, we got back in the classroom. I had real live kiddos that I could squeeze and hug, and the dream was lit again. So I was excited about that. I didn't know how it would happen,
Mhm.
and so, there's a lot of questions coming out of my mind, but, I just carried on, and the next 3 years in the classroom got more and more difficult, um, with whatever was happening, and I realized that last year that I was in public school that I was truly wrestling with the Lord, and He was asking me to do something that I didn't wanna do, and I do believe that He was kind of putting some pressure on me to see it His way, and so when I resigned in May of 2024, it was exciting, it was scary, but I had a peace knowing that I was doing exactly what the Lord had asked me to. So, giving up that paycheck was was a challenge and continues to be, but the Lord has provided everything that we've needed and more. And so
Yeah.
I'm just so very thankful for that. That leap of faith,
Yeah.
it's scary, but at the same time, He catches us. So,
Yeah. That's great. So, okay, so what is the dream? What is the school model? Tell us what it looks like, what you're doing now.
well, it's a little bit of old with the one room schoolhouse. We did find a one room schoolhouse in our local town. There was a schoolhouse for sale. Lo and behold, it was not red. It did not have a bell, and it wasn't actually cute, but it was a one room schoolhouse. So we purchased that 2 years ago and prepared to have it moved, which it was moved this summer to our property.
Yay!
Not in the location that I thought it would be, but it's in the perfect location because it looks like it's supposed to have been there all along. Uh,
Wow.
yeah, it is gives you the goosebumps when you see it, but
Yeah. And that's the big project. It's like, what? You moved, you found a one-room schoolhouse, and it was in your town right nearby, just what, 8 miles away or something, but you picked it up, moved it over to your property, and you're like, "This is where we're doing school. This
yes,
is
yes,
okay."
and the Lord has reminded me this is not about the building. I do believe the Lord loves me and provides this building as a gift to me. It's about the children, but, I'm very thankful for the building, which we're still in process. We need to add a modern day bathroom and a kitchen because I'm not willing to be that pioneer.
So you're not meeting in your school yet. So where are you now, and what's it look like in your
We're in the space, which is the upstairs of my house. All of my well, 2 of my kiddos, the ones that lived up here, have moved on to college or their adult life, and so we have this space available, and it just all kind of worked out, and the Lord provided that, and so it's a little crowded at times. We gotta move and groove a little differently sometimes, but it works wonderfully, and I'm so thankful for it. And we're about 300 feet from the actual schoolhouse. So we'll take some time some days and go do a little project, or we worked on the floor, or we can do some cleaning, but it's just
Mhm.
it I'm very thankful for both parts.
Yeah. So I couldn't wait. I had to go out and visit Trudy myself. So we met online through Hero and just connected and had a phone call. We've just been talking about her journey. And so I came out and visited, and just the drive out there. I mean, it is so neat. You have such a beautiful property and just long dirt roads, and you're just kind of getting away from it all. And I feel like as a parent, I would love to just that feeling of knowing like my kids are going to this wonderful school. They're going to have this adventure. They're outside a lot. I loved your space when I walked in. You have this table set up and, just enough room for your students to just sit around the table, and then they can kind of break out in their different spots to go read and things like that. And you do read alouds with them. And what does your day look like? Tell us a little bit.
Well, we start at 9 and we start with a verse. Every day they have a verse that they write down. Sometimes they write it in cursive, sometimes they write it in print, sometimes they do both. Uh, and then that verse is based upon a theme that we are working on for usually a 5 to 6 week period. And we're just wrapping up with the love of God. And so a lot of our verses have been about how we can help others, how we can serve others, and showing God's love in that way. And so that's usually our first time together, just kind of a little fellowship time. We start our day with the prayer and the Pledge of Allegiance, and then we jump right into reading. And I have a teacher that helps me in the morning with primary reading. Mrs. Nikki Lockwood is a phenomenal teacher, and so she comes for a couple hours, a couple days a week, and she'll work with the primary and things like spelling, phonics, reading, all of that stuff. And then I'll work with the upper level, which is third grade to eighth grade this year. And we typically will have to do some centers and do some rotating because I want to make sure I meet with each group every day and have an opportunity to talk about the book that they're reading. The books, by the way, are also very much fit into the theme. We're doing the bronze bow in one of the groups, which fits perfectly with being a servant and helping others, and actually very historical. I've learned so much about Israel and that part of the country from it. And then we take a little break. We have a recess in there. We have to make sure we have our recesses. We take a break at 11:20 for lunch, have another little recess, and then we come back, do a read aloud time after lunch, after recess. And again, it's a book that I've chosen, just some rich literature that talks about our theme or has to do with something that we're studying. And then we jump into math. Again, math will split so that I can work with the upper level students, meaning intermediate and middle school, and then I can work with primary students as well. We end our day with an enrichment. Mondays are art. Tuesday is music. Actually, we also have another lady that comes in for music. Mrs. Beth Thurn teaches music, and I'm so thankful for her. Wednesdays, workout Wednesdays, we do PE activities. And then on Thursdays, we go into Horton and meet at the library. And Mrs. Michelle Larson will help us with some of the different lessons at the library. And that's our day. And
That's awesome.
by Friday, we take Fridays off so that the kids can do things with their families. We
Yeah.
have some families now that are in the middle of harvest, and the kids are working right there with them, where they find a special activity to do, and I have a chance to plan on Fridays. So I'm just very thankful for that. And
Yeah.
one of the things that really bothered me is that kids went to school so long, and they were
Mhm.
exhausted by the time the week was over. And so hopefully that's a little less. They have a little more time to enjoy their families.
I love that. So you're Monday through Thursday and you start at 9, you go through 3, but you cover all the subjects and you work in rotations of like your PE and your art and your music days. So you do those electives. Um, I just love the way you start your day, with scripture and just I'm assuming in prayer as well, and just like starting your day off in this Christian environment and setting your focus and your hearts on the Lord. And what a gift that is. I'm sure that that's different than when you were in the classroom. So to have that freedom and to take advantage of the freedom that you have. And I just think as a parent, again, that's where I would want my kids to be. I homeschool my kids and also have a tutor who helps. So my older kids go to a private school, but my younger three, I'm homeschooling them. But I have a tutor who comes in a couple days a week. But it's so important to me that we can set the tone. My husband and I, like, we determine the culture, we determine the curriculum, we determine the schedule, we determine, how they're going to start the day and what this is going to look like. So and personally, I've scheduled it so that I do like the bookends of the week. I start them off strong on Mondays and then I wrap up on Fridays. And in between there, we've got tutoring with our little micro school group. And then we've got our homeschool co-op right in the middle. But I think just the variety, mixing it up, and even like you said, taking your kids to the library a little bit in there, making sure you have outside playtime and projects, working on your school. That's so amazing to have hands-on creative projects and then also to be as, individualized, like you're focusing on each student and their needs, and that's a gift. That's something you're not gonna find in a traditional classroom.
Right.
So, what has been the thing that you have, is there anything that's been surprising to you that you didn't even know it was gonna be this good? Thanks again for listening to this episode of Wise and Otherwise. We'd like to ask you to take a minute and please rate and review our podcast so that others can learn more about us and just to continue to show your support for this work that we're doing. It would mean so much. So please, if you're on Spotify or Apple or YouTube, take a minute and give us a good review. What's it?
Well, I was surprised by the amount of social time needed. That was not something that I realized because a public school classroom is full of socialization. We are together the whole day. But some of my students are part-time coming from homeschool situations. So seeing their friends here is huge. And so we need a little bit more of that, not just PE or not just recess outdoor socialization time, but also just working together, being able to solve problems together. So that was kind of, it wasn't a surprise, but I wasn't expecting it to be as necessary
Hmm.
as it's become.
Yeah, that's interesting. I know my kids, oh my goodness, they love when their friends are coming over for those 2 days and they're with a group and then we go to co-op, it's great. Of course, they have sports practices every afternoon, it seems like too. So they are out quite a bit. Um, so did you ever think, I mean, it's interesting because you're basically doing a homeschool setting there. Did you ever think that you would have homeschooled your own kids?
No, not at all. In fact, I tried my oldest, um, my oldest two, I have a 22-year-old and a 19-year-old, and my oldest is off into the real world and has a job. She graduated from K-State, in turf management or something thereabouts. And then my middle child is 19. He's actually at Emporia State working on fisheries and wildlife. And I tried with her in preschool, which, that's a little bit different, but I could immediately tell that this was more than I could handle in that situation. And, I felt like, why can't I do this? I'm a public school teacher, and yet I can't work with my kiddo who is 4 years old and we're working on letter sets. And I don't know if it was just personalities or where we were at, but it seemed very overwhelming. And so both of those children went through our local public school. They had excellent teachers. They had great friend groups. They learned exactly what they need. And that's a testament because there are some really great teachers out there, and public school can work really well for some families. And then as this went on and changed. I still have one more, daughter. She is in the 8th grade, and she's with me now. And it's still overwhelming, but actually having the other children here has been helpful because I don't know if you've ever felt with your children, like, sometimes they gang up on you a little bit.
Yeah.
I have more power as the teacher of everyone, and
Mhm.
she knows that she's gotta straighten up per se.
Yep. Yeah.
With the other kids around. So, I never saw this. In fact, if you would have asked me 20 years ago, I'm like, "Oh, not at all." But,
Yeah.
the Lord changes us and he has a plan for all of us. And I'm just so thankful that and that's what he wants from me. So I'm
Right.
doing the best I can and giving him the glory even when we have days that we struggle.
Sure. Yes. Well, it sounds like you've kind of hit on something that, I mean, I know I have discovered this as a homeschooling mom. Like I even personally, I do my best when we bring in some other kids in the mix, when it's just so easy to relax into it, to let things go, to not hold the standard. I mean, they know how to work us, and we have to manage everything. Like we're managing what they're eating and, that they're cleaning up and that they brush their hair and like all the things. And so as a homeschooling mom, that's definitely one of those elements that there's this level of difficulty I don't think you understand until you try it. You're like,
Yeah.
And I didn't know anything otherwise. Like, that was what I've done from the beginning. But I do know I got to a point, like the tipping point of like, "Whew, I'm not doing this well with all my kids. Like, something's got to give here."
Yeah, and that's why I mentioned I have several part-time students. What an honor it is to be able to
Yeah.
take them in for a day and either give moms a break or, give them a opportunity to regroup and then send them right back to them because they are doing the hard work. And I just appreciate them allowing their kiddos to come for a day or two on a part-time.
Yeah. That's huge. What
It's
a gift.
Yeah, and I'm thankful for all of the homeschool moms because that's probably the hardest job there is.
Yeah. Okay, so I'd love to hear a little bit more, just talking about when you made this decision and started down this track, what was the community, response? Like, were people excited or was there resistance? What did that look like?
Yeah, well, when we didn't really say a whole lot. I mean, we didn't share a lot of this information. We purchased the school, and yet, there was no activity, nothing moved, anything like that. So I kind of dropped it, if you will, on a YouTube video, and the outpouring of support was huge from that. And I felt so supported and loved from that. And the community has continued to be very encouraging with not just support and encouragement, but there have been donations and books. I have so many books that I can't even get out because we don't have room. We have furniture that my basement is just loaded with things that people have given us, and I'm so grateful. And I'm hoping, someday we'll get them to the school and everybody can come see and share in what the Lord has provided. But the community has been phenomenal, and I'm so
That's
thankful for
great.
that.
Yeah, that's amazing. I love to hear that. It sounds like so were people understanding like this is kind of a thing, like this is what families need and you're meeting a unique need? Um, I mean, had they heard of other people starting schools or was this like a new idea for them?
But overall, for the most part, it was kind of a new idea. I did have one parent that had said, "Oh, I've been hearing about this and wanting to do something." And the longer that this has gone on, more people, and this was a surprise, but the number of moms that have reached out to say that I want to do this,
Oh, wow.
and I'm just kind of like, "Okay, well, I know a lady."
I love it. Oh, I love
So,
it.
having those smaller groups, kind of like the WISE group, and there's a
Mhm.
Northeast Kansas group out of Kansas City. Those are so helpful to have
Yeah.
to just bounce ideas off of. But yeah, it was kind of a new thing, and it's growing on everybody, and I think they're seeing that this is happening all over, and not just Kansas, but the whole country is
Yes.
seeing the opportunity to do something a little bit different, and so I'm honored to be able to kind of be a leader in this area, and
Mhm.
yeah, I'm hopeful that we can even make some more groups in this area that could support each other a little bit more with whatever we have that's in the area.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I love it. So this weekend we have the Lifted retreat and you get to come. I'm so excited. We'll have about 30 ladies. They're all women. This is the way it turned out. I knew we needed to do that this way on Friday because it's like dorm style lodging for the overnight portion, but it turns out that that's all who registered were like all ladies. So we're going to have an amazing time. These are school founders from all across Kansas and just the chance to get together with people who are doing similar work, be refreshed in our vision and our purpose. And
Yes.
I'm so excited. I'm so glad you can come. I can't wait for the other ladies to hear about what you're doing there in Horton, Kansas.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm
I'm
excited to hear from everybody just because it is a bit of a reprieve, but it's also a time to get ideas and to think about ways that we could connect with, our local churches or other families. It's just I'm excited.
Exactly, and speaking of churches, I know you have, made some connections and talked with your local pastors, and what has that looked like for you?
This summer, I kinda tried to reach out to a couple different congregations. I'm real big on church, capital C, just because I feel like we are the church. It's not, the Methodists or the Christian church. It's all of us, and I've realized in the past year that this is a mission field. We talk about the Lord and I had one little guy ask me about, so how are God and Jesus related? And that, that was also a part that I wasn't expecting to be able to minister. And so I reached out to a couple different churches and to see if they would be willing to share in some scholarship opportunities for kiddos. We locally have a foundation where people can donate to, and then it's doubled on match days. And so we had a great turnout for that. And so part of our scholarship would come from that foundation. And then part of it is from churches that donate to that. So we had one church that was willing to put forth a full scholarship. And I'm so thankful for that they understand, just
Yeah.
we're doing the Lord's work here. I mean, we're learning math and reading as well, but what we're putting in kids' hearts is eternal. So I'm thankful for that.
Yes, exactly. And it sounds like you've got vision to grow and expand and to keep going. So in your ideal situation here, 2 to 5 years down the road, what's it gonna look like at Armor Academy?
Well, we are going to be in a one-room schoolhouse in 2 to 5 years. And I hope and pray that we have more kiddos. Right now my span is first to eighth, which I'm comfortable. I think K to eighth. And so I'd love to see just kiddos working together and helping each other, and that takes some planning on my part, and I completely understand that. But it's just kind of like a well-oiled machine. Everybody does what they know to do at that time, and if we have to rotate or move around, and being inside a school building from the late 1800s, it's overwhelming. But I've seen the Lord do the work, and I know that this is for His glory. So I hope that's what we see in 2 to 5 years.
Yes. Okay, so I always like to ask my guests, you are a teacher, a former public school teacher. If you could speak to other public school teachers who might feel this stirring in their heart, what would you say to them?
Well, I understand sometimes financially that doesn't seem possible, and it didn't feel like that for me, but yet the peace that I had was incredible. So I would encourage public school teachers to reach out to someone that has done this in their area and just ask a lot of questions. I've been thinking about this for more than it started in COVID time, but there was always a little piece of me that was like, I wonder if I could just have my own school. So I would encourage them to just find like-minded teachers or parents and soak up everything you can, ask the questions, and then even creating a group like that is a good way to get started. That would be my encouragement to public school teachers. I know that sometimes if it's just not something that they think they financially can do, I know that they're bringing the love of Jesus to kiddos in their classroom every day, and that's a need too. So I don't want anyone to feel guilty or they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, because I think wherever the Lord places us, that's
Yes.
that's where we belong. So
Yes, yes. And my friend Jessica Glover, she works with Kingdom educators and really reinforces that message to the public school teachers who are Christians. They're called to be the salt and the light and to be there. So it's not for everyone, for sure. Like the Lord, He knows exactly where He needs His people to be in the classroom or calling them out to do something creative. I love to call these schools creative Christian learning environments because there's no end to what these can be, the possibility. Like everyone's looks different. And I love, we do have a lot of freedom and we might as well run with the freedom that we have. So that would just be an encouragement. Like we can do this. It can be what you dreamed it was going to be when you were in third grade and what you hoped for. And so that's exciting. And then one more thing, speaking to parents who might just be looking for other options or just, maybe what what would your word of encouragement be to them if they're a little bit nervous about trying something so different?
yeah, well, I would encourage them to reach out and see if they could even just visit for a day and see, what is this environment like and what are the other children like? Because that's a big thing that I guess I also didn't think about is who your kids are going to school with.
Mm,
Make sure there's some positive encouragement there. But yeah, don't be afraid if you're a parent struggling with this. You are the number one teacher. And if it feels like you're supposed to status quo and go this line, don't feel like you have to do that because the Lord calls us to do all kinds of things. And I think society is loosening that chain of have to now. And I think they have a bit more freedom, or I hope they feel they have freedom, but
Right.
definitely just go with your gut because moms,
Right.
yeah.
Moms know. Yeah. Yeah. Well, thank you so much. So if our listeners would
Yeah.
like to learn more, you have a website and Facebook page?
Yes, we have armoracademy.net. We also have a Facebook page. You'll have to search it because I don't have the exact address, but it's Armor Academy and then Horton, Kansas. We also have a YouTube page, which, much to my despisement, and adding videos. That's one of the things that I wasn't expecting either. But I keep up on the videos because folks love to get the updates. So
Yeah,
you can search for Armor Academy and YouTube as well.
definitely. Well, I'm kind of bummed your students didn't come back in. When we started, they were in the background and they were out for recess. So
Yeah, well,
just tell them
I haven't heard any hollering, so apparently recess is going well, but
that's great. They're good sports to allow you to do this in the middle of the day. Thank you for your time.
absolutely. Thank you for your time, and I'm excited to see you this weekend.
I know it's going to be great. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.